on Palo Alto networks. So today, our main focus, we are going to focus on our CORTEX XDR, which is one of the security solutions from our Palo Alto networks, and try to understand what are these key points that you need to address, as also try to focus on what are some of the key challenges that we have. So in our security operations rewiring, we are trying to talk about how can we be able to focus on a couple of solutions that we have in our infrastructure. So currently, we understand that there are some of the key security challenges that we are facing in different data centers or in different security or operation centers. And some of the main challenges is that we normally see what we call event overload. So we have got a couple of systems that we have. We've got switches, we've got firewalls, we've got different endpoints. So we are facing, every machine is trying to generate some data. But then how can we be able to understand, all these security solutions that we have? How can we be able to understand that, solution B is trying to talk about something, then we're seeing another solution also trying to, dump a couple of events. So with the limited resources that we have, it's really hard for us to be able to address all these alerts. And every alert has got a very essential part in our security. So we might be having some kind of intrusion that is coming in. We might be having some guys also maybe trying to do some kind of port scanning, or we have some maybe it's a firewall that is being overwhelmed. Maybe the sessions are too much, and we need to see how we can be able to expand. So with the limited resources that we have in our in our premises, so sometimes it might be hard to address all these and make sure that all these kind of security solutions are going to be utilized and being used to enable us to prevent or secure our infrastructure. So each and every day, as technologies keeps on getting more and more complex or getting more and more advanced, we always try to have different solutions so that they can be able to address different problems that we have. So being able to tune all these kind of solutions so that they can be able to speak one language, again, is one of the key challenges that we have. We understand that different technologies require different learning curves, and also different technologies also speak different languages. So one of the challenges that we normally have is how can we be able to have all these solutions speak in one language? Then also, because of this, we need to make sure that all these kind of solutions, once they trigger alerts, we need to have some kind of a playbook. So we need to have some kind of procedures. Whenever you see an alert, is there a way that you need to access this kind of incident? How can you be able to triage it and then being able to understand what was the root cause analysis on this? Then also, we have got these different solutions which are now going to focus on one key area, and then leaving what you call shadow IT, whereby there is some kind of visibility that we lack in one paradigm or the other. Then by the ability that now these tools are going to be speaking different language, what you call siloed, then we'll not have enough time with the limited resources that we have in terms of manpower to be able to go through all these solutions and then being able to expedite on meantime to containment. So we normally have in each and every organization, there is always that need for one or two guys that need to address all these things, or dependently going to focus on one solution. We have got really stretched teams that are focusing on maybe support, then also they want to troubleshoot maybe some kind of network outages. So being able to mobilize all these resources so that they can be able to address all these kind of challenges is really one of the key issues. And most of the CSOs, or maybe most of the head of ITs out there, they normally have this challenge of training guys. Then all of a sudden, after maybe 1 year or two, these guys are leaving. So the new team that is coming in is going to struggle to understand what are these kind of infrastructure, what are the designs, what is the workflow. So by the time that we're going to get this, even this kind of alerts that we're going to get cannot make all that sense. So it's going to leave some kind of a security gap. So having said that, is there a way that we can be able to focus on this? So our approach is what we call a four-tiered approach, whereby we're going to focus on how can we be able to prevent this, and how can we be able to detect all these kind of anomalies that are coming on, and again expedite investigation while making sure that we improve our response. So this is where Palo Alto now comes up with a structure that's called a CORTEX XDR, which is more of an holistic approach on how we can be able to address all these challenges. How can we be able to triage all these kind of events? How can we be able to reduce the amount of time that we are going to take in order to investigate? So one of the research that was done in the year 2018, it showcased that most of the data breaches, sometimes they can go up to 266 days. So this is MTTI, or mean time to investigation. Then also containment, or being able to combat this, can also take another 69 days. So what does it mean? It showcases that if, let's say, this kind of attack is going to take more than 200 days, so it's going to cost around $1.2 million. So it's going to stay there. So the impact is going to be a little bit high. So we need to come up with a way in which we can be able to reduce this. How can we be able to make sure that all these kind of solutions are working, not independently, but in a way that they are integrated? So what CORTEX XDR provides here is the ability to provide complete visibility. So when we talk about complete visibility, we're talking about from the cloud infrastructure, whereby the guys who are having this kind of digital transformation, we understand what's going on from the cloud workloads. We understand what's going on from the network level, and also what's going on from the endpoint level. So being able to have this kind of 360 degrees view is very critical to any kind of infrastructure. Then if we can be able to have all these systems being some kind of orchestration, whereby they can be able to be integrated to be able to respond. So whatever the firewall sees, also the endpoint can be able to have this visibility. And whatever maybe we see from the cloud level, we can also be able to have this kind of cross communication. And then this is where we can be able to reduce this kind of mean time to investigation. Then also, as much as we are getting all this kind of information, how can we be able to use it to focus on prevention? So this is again another value that is being brought on board. So one of the key things that we've seen as part of the improvement, you might be asking yourself, so what is this XDR? So XDR is more of the industry's first cross-platform detection and remediation. So what you can see here is that some of the key capabilities as compared to the EDR is that the EDR used to focus on the data from endpoints. But Palo Alto then took it to another level, whereby you can be able to stitch different alerts that you're getting from other solutions, that party. What do we mean? As we can also be able to integrate from Palo Alto to CORTEX XDR, which is more of traps, one of the endpoints, is that you can now be able to also stitch other alerts from the other third-party solutions like Checkpoint, Cisco, and Fortinet. So whatever the investment that you've made in your network level, so you can now be able to pull these things together, use machine learning, behavioral analytics across these multivariate environments, and being able to get meaningful insights out of them. Some of the key things that you can also be able to get from the solution is that as you are rewiring all these kind of solutions, you will be able to get more insights, different processes. Let's say you didn't understand, the attack happened. So what was the flow? What happened, which triggered what? So you can be able to see how these kind of processes were able to invoke each other and why we were able to detect this. And we can also be able to give more insights. So let's say you don't understand, fully security perspective. You are a new guy, maybe you are focused on networks, and then you were brought to this, InfoSec team. So this can be able to give you more insights, can be able to give you a complete understanding on how these processes move. So you can see from the model that you can be able to see from the screen is that you can see some kind of a tree-like, some kind of hierarchical approach on this kind of processes. So let's say process A was able to trigger process B. Let's say the PDF was able to invoke CMD. Then CMD was also being able to invoke a command that's supposed to be altering some registry keys. So you can all be able to see all that flow. So this again can be able to reduce the mean time to investigation and being able to combat this. By doing this, you can also be able to understand, push these kind of policies to different machines, understand what machine is compromised and what level, which kind of these processes are they wanted processes, or these are some kind of a false positive that you're seeing on board. So think about it like some kind of a SIM component in one platform. So it's more of a SIM-based approach, but now with more machine learning, behavioral analytics, and being able to teach different solutions that have meaningful data in this. So you can be able to tell a story in a very small format. Then after that, you can be able to understand, so what is happening on my network and how can you be able to mitigate all these kind of attacks. So CORTEX XDR is one is a solution that has been developed from what we used to call traps. So traps used to be an advanced endpoint solution from Palo Alto Networks that has been developed over time to be able now to focus on different ways in which it can be able to combat these kind of attacks. So the key things here is that the value that you get here is that being able to stop all the attacks that are being either initiated from the endpoint level or maybe from other solutions. Maybe it's a candy drop. Someone comes in with a USB. Then you can also be able to combat these kind of attacks. So also part of it is to make sure that you can be able to identify some of the invasive attack using what you call behavioral analytics, being able to understand what are the baselines. Have I ever seen this kind of a process being able to trigger another process? So by using machine learning again, you can be able to combat this kind of attacks. Some of them what you call script-based attacks or fileless attacks. Then the key component as to we saw on the previous slide is to make sure that you can be able to reveal the root cause analysis and being able to showcase in a more modeled manner to be able to assist those guys who don't fully understand security, at least how the attack moved, and being able to expedite the investigation. So by doing this, once you expedite the investigation, then you can be able to easily combat these kind of threats using minimal resources. So the value that you're going to get from this, we normally call it 8, 50, 44. So 3 numbers. So we talked about how you can be able to, reduce what you call MTTI or mean time to investigation 8 times faster. So with the limited resources and because of the behavioral analytics and machine learning algorithms that have been built into the CORTEX XDR, you can be able to just focus on what it matters. You don't need to do manual stuff, trying to Google, research all these kind of processes. But by going through the user interface, which is very intuitive, you can be able to understand all these kind of processes. You can be able to do what we call threat hunting using the minimal time or using minimal resources. And then you can be able to reduce this kind of alert fatigue thanks to the machine learning and other algorithms that have been built into CORTEX XDR. They do all this heavy lifting for you, hence being able to reduce this alert volume or alert fatigue by triaging all these kind of alerts and getting you to focus on what it takes or some of the high or critical alerts that require your manual intervention. So instead of just getting all the alerts, information alerts, all these kind of alerts that might be reducing your time, you can be focusing on what you think is critical and This can reduce the time that you are going to take in order to combat or being able to sanitize all the endpoints. Then we can also have 44% lower total cost of ownership. As per the survey that was done in the year 2019, we were able to see that the guys who had deployed CORTEX XDR were able to reduce the costs. Let's say the person who didn't have all these was able to spend around $200 million. Then if you had deployed the CORTEX XDR, then you were to able to make investment of around $800,000. So this kind of total cost of ownership comes from things like how can you be able to being able to reuse the existing infrastructure. How can you be able to still use the investment that you've made, maybe in firewalls that might not be communicating one-on-one with the others? So this is really key whenever you're trying to focus on this kind of technologies. How can you be able to leverage different third-party intelligence teams to be able to do this? So one of the key things that we also find in CORTEX XDR is you can be able to get integration to third-party feeds. Let's say there are third-party intelligence teams out there. You can be able to integrate this into the solution and being able to get more insights. So this again can be able to add value to the threat hunting team. Then also focusing on different solutions that we offer here is that there are two solutions here. So one is called CORTEX XDR Prevent. So this is more focused on endpoint protection, just like the normal antiviruses. Talk about Kaspersky or talk about Silence and other solutions out there. So this is just prevention focused, being able to prevent attacks, maybe exploits, malwares, fileless attacks from the endpoint level, and this has been very effective. The CORTEX XDR Pro, this is more, if you want to get more of analytics, how can you be able to, to have case management, investigation, and response under one platform? So this is when you need CORTEX XDR Pro. So let's say your team needs to control maybe USB ports, you want to do some kind of endpoint encryption. All these can also be found in CORTEX XDR Prevent. If you want maybe to control endpoints, if you want to say, I want to control the USB ports, only a certain USB with a certain serial number is the one that can be used to do patching or maybe do upgrades or do some kind of installations. So you can lock all the ports and allow only a few USB devices. Maybe you can limit them based on the vendor, or you can limit them based on the hardware ID or the serial number. So this is really effective when you talking about those kind of endpoints that require dongles, maybe for licensing purposes. So this solution also comes in with the 3rd days of CORTEX Data Lake. So this is a log retention solution, or maybe a logging solution where all these kind of events are going to be stored. Then machine learning components can come in and then try to understand which kind of data is this, and retrogressively being able to address some of the stealth mode attacks that were seen before. So we can't also maybe go without talking about some of the competitive landscape, some of our competitors out there, and some of the challenges that they were facing that CORTEX was trying to address. So you can talk about CrowdStrike, which has got some kind of poor attack detection because of the limited data that sometimes it gets. Also, we can see some kind of a weak detection and response from Silence, and Carbon Black, some kind of complexity. So it requires a lot of resources, which we might not be having in different organizations. So Spartak has been here, I think, for quite some time now. We normally see how sometimes it can be able to free some of the laptops out there or some of the endpoints. And one of the key things, by the way, I didn't talk about is how Traps is one of the most lightweight endpoint solutions out there. It's around 5 MBs, which is again not that much. And you can be able to have most of the actions being triggered from the security team. Let's say you want to scan maybe machine B or machine C. So this is the time that you can be able to push that kind of an alert. Wherever you get some kind of maybe funny alerts, then you can be able to push that policy to do this scanning. Previously, traps didn't have this kind of scanning capability, because the way traps used to work is that whatever process is being triggered, it sends some kind of a special script that monitors this process from the execution time to termination time. So let's say the alert, the malicious file was there. So long as it was not active or whatever, so long as it's not running, then we didn't have a problem with it. So by doing this, the resources that were being used were very minimal. But again, some guys were talking about, a thief is a thief, whether he's sleeping or not, he's still a thief. Then this kind of this component of scanning had to come in. So from around Traps 5.0, then the scanning component had to kick in. So it was meant to be able to use the least resources possible without affecting the user experience at the endpoint level. Then also the adapters has got some kind of limitation, focusing more on the network level rather than the endpoint, and sometimes it's prone to a couple of false positives. Then also, physical cell towards some kind of complexities, requires a lot of manual effort for it to be effective, and some kind of tuning for it to be effective. So this again adds some kind of value on whatever that you're going to get. So some of the solutions that we offer out there for different personas is that we can be able now to give solutions to, let's say, the more of the head of ITs, automation and efficiency. So whatever you trying to train guys and then they trying to run away, still by doing this kind of automation, you can be able to reduce the efforts of the team doing manual threat hunting by having this kind of automation, alert triaging, and reducing this kind of alert fatigue. Then some of the pain points that we normally see for security operations team that we're focusing today is that there's always this lack of visibility, what we call shadow IT. There is also different languages that we don't understand from these kind of disparate solutions. Then being able to have these kind of powerful search tools, being able to search files, for example, there is a file that we thought was malicious. We have a special tool that can be able to search all these kind of endpoints. Can you search for file B? So this can be able to reduce this kind of attack service by deleting this kind of a file in all the endpoints. So talking about having some kind of a Google in your own infrastructure. So this is really a very effective solution. Then being able to understand what is happening by this kind of a root cause analysis model is very key. So this can also assist the SOC team being able to present, or try to talk about what happened in a very limited time. So the models that we saw in one of the slides there, they can be able to give an hierarchical approach on how what triggered what, which process was malicious, and where did we feel that something malicious is happening on the network. Then also by encompassing this behavioral analytics to focus on how they can be able to reduce the alert fatigue, this can help the SOC team to focus on what what matters. So we're going to get very minimal escalations to maybe the architects or maybe the 3 engineers or analysts out there. So data stitching also adds value to whatever the current solution that we have. So these kind of different languages that we're getting or from different solutions, being able to stitch these alerts together can now put more intelligence into whatever the incident that we are trying to hunt, or maybe to the incident that we're trying to focus or performing threat hunting on. Then also being able to create or fine tune your own custom rules can also add some kind of a value to how you can be able to make a customized way or an approach to your infrastructure. So focusing on these kind of technologies, the main value, because we normally hear about XDRs out there, this is like also is becoming the de facto standard on wherever you're trying to get some kind of endpoint protection. A couple of years before, like almost a decade, Palo Alto was able to come with the NGFW, which was one of its own in the industry that's being used up to now. XDR also was part of the terms that also, or was part of the technologies that again Palo Alto pioneered, and we can be able to see some of the key values or some of the key differentiators here. So we have got different solutions out there that are focusing on EDR only, or maybe endpoint protection only, or UBA only, or NTA. So CORTEX XDR, this is where you can be able to get all these kind of solutions: user and behavior analytics, endpoint detection, network traffic analysis, all this in one platform. So this is one of the key things that you might want also to focus on as when you want to invest on the an XDR technology out there. So this greatly improves, your security posture, and also having this kind of a 360 degrees view of your security. So being able to be innovative has really improved on how CORTEX XDR has been able to do, some, how can I say, some positive response out there from the market. We really have been seeing some great consumption, or some kind of a positive approach whenever it comes to anybody who wants to get some kind of endpoint protection out there. So one of the key things here is that CORTEX XDR can be able to prevent all the threats, whether they have got signatures or whether they have not. So CORTEX XDR again is running on pure machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to combat or uncover some of the stealth mode attacks, fileless attacks, and also prevent malwares and ransomwares and exploits from the endpoints. Then the EDR part is that it has got unlimited visibility, whether it's from the cloud level, whether it's from the network level, whether it's from the endpoint level. So there is this kind of 360 degrees view on what's going on the infrastructure. Then also simplify security operations by the fact that you can be able to stitch all this together and then have one platform where you can be able to view all these kind of components. Has really changed the view on how we're supposed to be focusing on the EDR. Then also the return on investment that you talked about, being able to have something like 44% return on investment. This is really key and a game changer in the industry. Then being able to use some kind of a special patented technologies and algorithms to be able to stitch all these kind of network traffic together, and being able to uncover some of this abnormal patterns. This has really helped in trying to secure our infrastructure and being able to detect even some kind of a stealth mode attack. Also, from the other view on what other guys are talking about out there. So CORTEX XDR seems to be like a new domain in the security industry, whereby we are seeing a special market of around 10 billion. And because being the first guys to be able to address this market, we've seen more than 75% rate. So this again is encouraging for the guys who are trying to understand, where is this? So what is the reception of this in the market? Thanks to what we were able to cover when it comes to malware attack, whereby we were able to cover more than 88% of all the areas that might try to address. These are different attack services. So you can see some of the competition and where we are. So we were able to have 93% fewer misses as compared to other solutions out there. So it's all about prevention. Again, this is because of the unique approach I talked about before, whereby wherever a process is triggered, so there is a special script that continuously monitors this until the process is going to be teared down. And because we focus on the attack techniques, and the attack techniques really take time for them to change, so it's really hard for someone to come up with a different attack technique that we might not be able to combat. Also the attackers, or maybe the hackers, they're also sometimes lazy. So they're trying to use, the previous techniques, then try to change a few things, and then being able to release out there to try their hash. So by using machine learning again, you can be able to even detect some of these kind of attacks, some of them which might be altered a little bit, maybe to change the hash file, but still the techniques will remain the same, and hence we can be able to still get this. So I think this is the end of our presentation, unless maybe one or two questions that might be coming. So I highly recommend that you can try CORTEX XDR out there. Yeah, so I believe there's not much to say at the moment. If there's no any other question, I'll have to end the session here. Thanks for your time, and please reach out if you have any question. Otherwise, thank you for your time.